This presentation hopefully will calm your nerves a bit and give you some basic brainstorming strategies. You might actually find writing to be relaxing. I hope you will. The presentation focuses on 5 different kinds of brainstorming methods. First is cubing, then is free writing, third is listing, fourth is mind mapping, and fifth is researching. What they all have in common is they all help you get going in writing that paper. So you need to determine what strategy works best for you. And to do that, you'll probably need to experiment with some of these different ideas. So let's talk about cubing. For this topic, this strategy is really looking at the same topic from different vantage points. Just like this box that shows you the different sides, really 6 sides of this square box. Cubing helps you do that. Look at an issue from all different sides of the matter. For example, if you were going to be writing about partnerships, that's a favorite topic of mine. I feel like I could brainstorm a lot about it. To describe it, what's a partnership? Talk about a partnership that connects 2 people, something that's mutual. Maybe it's a relationship that's between organizations or individuals. But that's my sense of what a partnership is. When I associate it, what do I think of? Well, I really think of all different kinds of partnerships. I think of the business partnerships that could be between 2 different smaller businesses that are coming together to do a service. I think of personal partnerships like a marriage, which is really a long relationship and a partnership that can ebb and flow, just like many other partnerships. I think about partnerships that are done in all different segments of business, of the arts, of almost any discipline, people coming together to get a shared goal completed. And you can tell as I'm talking, I'm going to keep going, I'm really this is a stream of consciousness and thinking about different ways that I personally make associations with the idea of partnerships. What would I compare partnerships to? And what are they like or not like? Well, I can tell you that they're not like a one-man band. They're not like a dictatorship. They're not one person running the show. They involve different people who are coming together to have a discussion, to think about what goals are in common and how to make those things work together. So what they're like is much more, you can think of teams that are akin to partnerships. You can think of healthy organizations that have partnerships within them that are working together to create a healthy organization that's functioning and producing different things. When I think about how to apply a partnership and how it can be used, well, it can be used a lot in business development, certainly, when you're trying to reach out to perhaps different partners in business that bring different assets to the table. You can think about it when you're at a university. We often want to try to make partnerships within the community to help students learn. There's partnerships that are made around sports, baseball diamond, where different allegiances happen so that you work together as a team. There's lots of different venues that partnerships are happening in. When I analyze a partnership, there are different pieces to it. There's certainly the relationship involved. There's things about how I'm going to assess it, how are goals created and mutually completed. What's the accountability for different people within that partnership? If I'm really going to look at the different steps, I want to think about the relationship. I want to think about the results. And personally, I'm interested too on how do you measure those results. Those are some pieces of a partnership. And arguing for or against it, well, generally I would argue for it much more easily because I believe in the value of partnerships and in developing shared meaning. I think that's how we accomplish the greatest things in life. But it's not particularly efficient. You really have to have patience to build a partnership. And so if I wanted to get something done quickly, hey, a dictatorship works a lot better. But that's one argument against it. Doesn't often have the efficiencies. And there's other arguments against it too, that it's complex and that makes for things that don't always come out the way you want them to. So those are some examples of cubing in brainstorming my topic of partnerships. Free writing is just fun. I mean, it's a warm-up exercise that you do for 15 or 30 minutes. The key thing about free writing is don't edit yourself. Don't worry about the punctuation or the spelling or the grammar. This is just to get you going. Uninterrupted time, when you get the juices flowing around your idea. Maybe it's, you can write in very simple language if you want, or be more poetic, or whatever hits home for you. But it's just to get going, so you get over that initial hump of looking at the blank page. That's the very simple idea of free writing. It's a great creative process. The next idea is listing. And for listing, you're really starting your list based on these two questions that you see in front of you. One is, what do you want to communicate? Almost a little bit of the goal of this whole topic. And then, which ideas and elements do I want to highlight or convey in particular? Well, for me, I want to communicate about partnerships that it's really very much about the relationship. Relationships are at the core of what makes strong partnerships. But I also want to communicate that relationships in and of themselves are not sufficient. They're essential, but that's not all that makes a partnership. And in terms of the elements, I had mentioned some before. I want to communicate the elements of a partnership include shared goals. It includes strong communication. It includes outcomes and results. And so for that, I want to be able to assess it. So there might be the element of assessments of partnerships. Once I know that, then I can jot down phrases or single words that I'm going to come back to later when I'm writing my longer argument or my longer analysis that will help infuse it. So you can see this list that's pictured here. It might be one or two words or a phrase that's going to stimulate your thinking later when you're writing the longer narrative. I could work just words like relationships, assessments, authenticity, outcomes. Or I can write phrases like mutually beneficial relationships or strong communication makes the difference. Those sorts of things. It's a list. My list, each item should maybe fit on one line, but that's going to help me, again, to get going and brainstorm and feed into my paper later on. So mind mapping sounds maybe more complicated, but really it's also another simple approach to brainstorming. And for this is where I want to see how things are connected and what I might want to emphasize more or less. When I have my main topic in the middle, let's say here the topic is talk about writing. I've been talking to you about partnerships. So if I put that in the middle, what are some of I want to think graphically of how this is going to come out. And maybe some of you think better visually and through images. And this is a great brainstorming technique for you. You would want to put, or at least I would want to put, larger circles around relationships and results. Those are two important things, and they're going to connect. I might put thick lines to them to show that they are really strongly connected to this topic. I might put a visual of an ear in here too, because a big part of strong relationships is listening to each other and really understanding what the needs are of your partner. I might think about different fonts or other things that are symbolic of different pieces, because the different images can help spark my creativity when I'm starting to write the narrative. Really, again, if you're particularly an artist or someone who thinks through pictures or through metaphors, this might really be a great strategy for you. So the last piece to mention is about researching. And for that, that's how you begin to expand what you've brainstormed and really begin to flesh out some of your ideas. Now, you know that you can use the library for help with this. You can go to the reference section or lots of the different catalogs or resources that the library has and the reference websites. You might do it through talking to another person, through interviewing them. You could explore lots of images, different visuals that help you think about partnerships. Maybe if I had a visual of two hands shaking for my partnership idea, that might help expand my concept further. But the other bullet here that I want to emphasize and end with is the importance of asking questions. To ask a question that you're really curious about, that's going to make your interview and really all of your research a lot more interesting. It's going to drive the rest of the research. So if I have an interesting question about whatever my topic is that I really care about, finding out the answer, I'm going to be a lot more motivated to look into different resources, to talk to different people, and to start writing about that because I want to know the rest of the story. I want to know more about partnerships, let's say, and you might want to know more about whatever it is, I hope you will, about your topic. Most importantly, be genuinely curious about what you're writing about. Think about questions that you want to hear the answers to, and then go out and ask them. And once you begin getting responses and finding information, you can start writing. Enjoy it.